Well, good morning and welcome to St. John's Coffee Hour. Give me a moment while I recombobulate here, coming in from the sanctuary. It's delightful to see all your faces, and a wonderful welcome here to the Garceau family. We have Michael and Sarah, Julia and Paul Garceau. And last week you had an obstacle course in the St. John's parking lot. And maybe tell us a little bit, Garceau family, all about what happened last weekend.
You guys want to talk about it? No, you're going to be okay. Our doorbell just rang, so they're off. So last weekend, with the support of Katie Masden and our St. John's family, the young people put on an obstacle course that was held in the parking lot. And it came from an idea that Julia had over the summer. So in August, she came to us and she said she wanted to do an obstacle course to raise money to help homeless people. And so initially her idea, she wanted to try and do it in our neighborhood, and we live in Woodbury. And we didn't know how receptive, or how successful we'd be able to be. So we thought, we should bring this to our family at St. John's. And with the work that the church has done with Hallie Q. Brown, we've donated in the past, both clothing and toys around Christmas. I talked to Julia and I said, look, this is, I think, a good organization. And maybe we should talk to Katie about it. And so Julia asked me to send an email to Katie. And immediately St. John's jumped all over this. They thought it was a fabulous idea. And we were just so excited to see it come to fruition. And both Julia and Paul were able to participate in the obstacle course. And we're excited to announce that the total is in, and that the children in the church were able to raise $1,493.98 for Hallie Q. Brown. And so with Hallie Q. Brown's purchasing power, that's almost $15,000 worth of goods that they'll be able to procure to help people. So we are just so excited, and I think it's really great for the kids to be able to help everybody and work with the church. And we're just so thankful for the community that we have at St. John.
As are we. Thank you so much for telling us the story behind last week's initiative. And that's what we read in the scriptures. A child shall lead us into the peaceable kingdom. And I'm so glad that Julia and Paul, your children, Sarah and Michael, really led St. John's into this generosity of spirit and generosity of money as partners with Hallie Q. Brown in our neighborhood. And Colleen Swope, who read beautifully this morning. Colleen, I know that you are our Faith in Action liaison now with Hallie Q. Brown and all the Faith in Action ministries at St. John's. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about the work that Hallie Q. Brown is doing and how the money that the Children's Initiative raised can go towards supporting that excellent work that they're doing in the neighborhood.
Well, first of all, congratulations to Julia, Paul, and Michael and Sarah. That is an incredible amount of money. And it's true. Hallie Q can take your dollar and turn it into $10 buying through their partners. So this will be a huge amount of money. And right now with the pandemic, Hallie is really in overdrive with the food shelf. They firmly believe they do not turn anyone away, even if you're not in the zip codes that they normally would serve. So there are over 1,000 families, 1,000 households right now that they are helping a month. And their neighborhood zip code enrollment has gone from approximately 500 families to 750 families, households, I should say households, that they're helping. And so this will be a huge amount that they will be able to help more families with, especially purchasing fresh produce that the families and the children will need. So this is incredible. And it will be a huge easing looking at the budgets coming up as Althea and Jonathan are looking to purchase what they need for the food shelf. So this thank you just doesn't cover this. And it is true. I mean, with these children coming forward, the world is looking to be a much better place. And so
Yes,
it's just stunning. It really is.
Thank you.
marvelous. Thank you. Well, we do have a question for our coffee hour related to stewardship. So those on the screen, how does our season of stewardship intersect with the way of love? Um, Things like the obstacle course that we just heard about, the fundraiser that Julia came up with. How does it connect with your family life? This practice that St. John's is engaging in for the year of following the way of love. Um, do you have any thoughts about that? Any of the panelists on the call, or even the Garceau family, how does the way of love intersect with this season of stewardship? And maybe my question
Well,
wasn't
I
well
think
formulated. There we go.
No, it's good. It's good.
That's good. Yeah. No, I mean, I think for us, it's part of the reason that we joined St. John's and that we love being a part of the community is, I think it's really important to introduce, children, but I think in this day and age, everybody to reintroduce adults to the concept of, loving your neighbor. And if you're able to give, giving to those who are less fortunate than us. And I think, some of the messages that we hear outside of the church maybe don't support that as much as they used to. And so I think, it's very important to, bring our kids up in that sort of environment and to teach them how important it is to love people, even if they're different from you.
Right. Thank you. Others on the call, Krista, Mary, Richard, Colleen. Maybe Krista first. I'll go on the order in the screen that I see.
There we go. I had to unmute myself. So something I've noticed this pandemic, and I'm sure it's not an increase, but it just seems to be an increase. I have so many friends and loved ones who have lost mothers, sisters, people who are dear to them. And I've just really felt more called than ever to try to find ways to comfort and support them. I tend to do everything based on food, it seems. And so there are just these special ways where you can start meal trains and things like that, so that people who have, suffered some kind of devastating loss don't have to feel burdened financially or with their time and energy to just get the basics in. And so that's something that I've just been noticing more, and involving one of my other family members in this project. So
Great, Krista, thank you. And also, thank you for the gift of your singing this morning's hymns and all the hymns that you've been offering, and the anthems that you've sung with Richard have just lifted the spirit in a new way. To hear your beautiful voice singing those words is a real gift. So thank you for being so generous with your gift in music as well at St. John's, and certainly the gifts of pastoral caregiving that you're giving those you know in the world. So thank you. Next, I have Mary on my screen.
Well, your question is a provocative one, Craig. Lynn and I have been engaged in estate planning for some time now. We don't have children, so the idea of creating a legacy has, in our experience, become sacred work, holy work, as we, very thoughtfully proceed through this planning process. And it's all become quite a sobering process as we've watched the death toll rise, and It just helps us reflect on the sanctity of every life and every day. So there's that, and that's been pretty. That's consumed a lot of our time and energy. The other thing that occurs to me is how important it's been for me to stay connected with some of my former colleagues in healthcare who are still on the front line. They're still showing up every day, and I care about them. I care about their ability to reach out to the people in their care, but I also care about their well-being because these times are unprecedented. I'm reflecting on the 2 or 3 times I've heard NPR interviewing hospital chaplains about their experiences, and every time it seems like the chaplain talks about their own fear, and that makes me. I feel so sad, and I don't question that they're fearful. We're all fearful, but I feel sad because it just tells me how depleted they are. So I pray for them and I continue to reach out to them. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mary. And please thank Lynn for all of us as well. I do have some comments coming in from YouTube. Marilyn Conklin says, stewardship allows us an opportunity to stay connected to God, to each other, and to our community. Keith Davis writes, stewardship and the way of love puts theory into practice, words into action and deeds. And Holly Sturker writes, all of the parts of the way of love intersect, but particularly go. And I think we've definitely seen, certainly the Garceau children going forth into the neighborhood to say, we're going to do an obstacle course, we're going to raise this money, and going forth courageously to do that in safe ways, much like those on the front line, as Mary has said, is part of who we are and whose we are. So thank you for that. Next on my screen, I have Richard.
Last week, I attended a church music webinar, and with colleagues and kind of around the country. And one of the biggest things, with the biggest subjects from that webinar, actually was generally about the topic of communication. And in context with the question that's raised here with all of us, I find that communication is so important in a way that I feel I'm best able to offer to friends, family, and colleagues. For those of you who may know, I live quite far from my family, who's down in the South. So and that along with friends, it's important to have weekly or every few days of check-ins, and even when people are busy, for you to reach out to them, and you may not hear back from them in a while, and that's okay, but I know that, and even when it's reciprocated to me, if I may not be able to respond right away, I always am very grateful that someone has reached out, and it means a lot. So the gift and the topic of communication is a way that I feel connected to the way of love.
Right. Thank you, Richard. And Colleen, you told us a lot about the work at Hallie Q. Brown and in the neighborhood, but tell us, what else is making connections for you as the way of love intersects with stewardship in your life?
What the others have said as well, the fact that people are reaching out, and the pastoral care, which I benefited from during this pandemic. But it's the fact that so many people. I remember in one of the stewardship campaigns, it was time, talent, and treasure. And not everybody has treasure right now because of what this pandemic has done, but they're finding ways using their talent and their time. I mean, Julia used her talent and her imagination and came up with this obstacle course and benefited so many families. And so people are being creative in how they're reaching out to each other and what they're doing for each other. And so maybe you don't have $1,500 in your pocket, but how can you just make somebody feel like $1 million? And people are finding that.
Right.
And we're using that to make this happen. And this congregation has never given up and has never said, I mean, one of the parts of the way of love is rest. And I always think of the clergy and our pastoral community, our ministers. They need rest. And you're all pushing and you're trying so hard. And it's just making the full circle. I don't know, I'm not saying this well, but it's really what can we do? And people are making it happen.
Right.
And they're not forgetting it doesn't have to be always $1 million.
Right. Exactly. Thank you, Colleen. And I was certainly afforded the gift of rest thanks to the marvelous people in this parish, and Jared, our rector, so that I could take some time for that rest and come back into serving alongside you. But before I get to your question, Mary, is it okay? There is a video I hear featuring the Garceaus, particularly Julia, who the obstacle course was Julia's real idea. And we've got a young evangelist here. So John Malloy, I'm not sure if this is a good time to cue up that video. I don't know if you can text me.
I wanted to help people from charity, and I had this idea. It's an obstacle course. Oh. He just walked. He didn't run. He didn't run. That's good. It's fun and sporty. I thought that it'd be easier from helping the church and easy and fun for kids to do. Yes! He went backward in there and we just... Yay! I'm going to put you on the spot for some sideline commentary. Why is it so important that we help our partners at Helly Q Brown?
Well, at this time, it's even more critical because we've got families who are struggling. And so anytime we can keep the food shelf strong and full, it's going to benefit the families, it'll benefit the children in their growth, especially their brain growth. Yes, and with youth like that, the future will be very, very bright.
Absolutely.
So thank everyone at St. John's.
Wonderful. How marvelous. Again, thank you, Julia and Paul, Sarah and Michael Garceau, proud parents, I'm sure, who are just there with I hope Julia is still there to hear us say thank you for being such a wonderful leader in the church and showing us how to be so generous with our time, our talent, and our treasure. And Mary, I saw your hand go up before the video.
Well,
please go ahead.
It's hard to follow that, but I just wanted to, just one additional thought. We've tried to be very intentional about our attitude. It's been very hard at times to be upbeat, hopeful, people of light, people of faith, and it's so easy to slide into that hole of despair. And I so appreciated Jared and his family sharing the story of their bleak jar a few weeks ago, where if anything bleak or sarcastic gets said in the house, they have to put $1 in the jar. And I just want to say, I am now nearly penniless. So if there are any other donations out there, think of me.
Yes, perhaps, Mary, there should be a church-wide bleak jar initiative, and all the proceeds from the bleak jars will go to support a ministry of the church or through Faith in Action, Hallie Q. Brown or Kaora Village Uganda or Project Home. You know, we have so many opportunities to transform the bleakness into light and love and salt in the
Yeah.
world. So thank you. Thank you for that suggestion. Yes, Colleen.
I just wanted to say, in addition to Richard and Krista and John and Sarah, everybody who helped make this morning beautiful. But Craig, your sermon was fire and brimstone. It was wonderful. It was invigorating. So as Mary said, when we have the moments of bleakness, it's like the words will come back and say, don't. Try to hang on. Rest and try to hang on.
Thank you. Thank you, Colleen. And yes, a big thank you. Behind the scenes is John Malloy doing phenomenal work, making these online worship services and coffee hours so beautifully, aesthetically engaging. And Sarah, our executive administrator, behind the scenes, making sure all the communications go well with Ellie Watkins, that video we saw of Julia. All of the people behind the scenes, thank you for your love and service of the people at St. John's and those who are watching. And to everyone on the screen, the readers, Mary and Colleen, the musicians, Krista and Richard, and then our coffee hour guests, our special guests, the Garceaus. I'm not sure if there's any closing words from the Garceaus or anyone else on the screen that you'd like to share before we wrap up our coffee hour.
I think we would just like to say thank you again to everybody who donated and everybody at the church who helped set up and develop the obstacle course. We just really appreciate all the help. And the other thing that I would add is be sure to go vote.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
A very, very good closing statement. Yes, I forgot to say thank you to Katie Madsen, Abby Mitchell, and all the CYF team that are leading our children, youth, and families beautifully through the wilderness that we're in. And yes, please go and vote. For those who have the honor and privilege of voting, the right to vote, please exercise that right and vote your conscience. And with that, thank you to each of you for your time this morning. Peace and blessings to you on the week ahead. Join us for the Way of Love. We continue every Sunday at 9 a.m. for the Faith Forum. We had a marvelous presentation by the Reverend Kate Maxwell, a sister, Benedictine sister, talking about the rule of Benedict and writing a rule of life for ourselves as we follow the Way of Love. Look for the recorded video of that. If you've missed the Faith Forum, you'll see that posted. And then join us on Sunday. Jared will lead us into how we're actually going to write a rule of life as individuals as we launch in to the 8-month journey of the Way of Love ahead. So keep well, be safe. God loves you, and God's blessings be upon you and all in your lives. Take care. Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.